Hello and welcome to another episode of FTD Talk. My name is John James and I am a writer and campaigner for male victims of female perpetrated domestic violence and an advocate for men's mental health. This week my co-host Nick will be talking to Marcus about false accusation, parental alienation and family court. It's a really intense interview again about parental alienation, which I'm sure a lot of male victims of abuse out there will understand. So take a listen. I hope you find it interesting. But before you go, don't forget to press that like button, smash that subscribe button. The bigger the channel gets, the more people we can help. So as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and don't forget, don't let anybody ever make you feel afraid. Peace.
Good day and welcome to another edition of FTD Talk. My name's Nick, and for the second episode in a row, I'm going to be talking to another parent, a healthy parent who has been separated from his child. So just over to you, Marcus. Do you mind just quickly introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about yourself, please?
Yeah, so hi, Nick. I'm Marcus, 45 years old. I work for NHS as a therapist to help people with drug-induced schizophrenia and psychosis, but also I see private clients the days I don't work for NHS for various issues, really, for anyone that's got like depression, anxiety, parental issues, relationship issues, and that's pretty much for me, really.
Okay. What sort of age group do you tend to work with, Marcus? Is it all age groups?
Yeah, I tend to work with 18 and above. There's no real cut-off limit, really. But
Yeah.
my client base at the moment is predominantly younger generation, under 30 years old.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, on the FTD Talk, we like to talk to survivors and victims of abuse. So, where does your story start, Marcus? What's your experience? What's gone on?
I guess number one, I never thought I'd be talking like an interview like this, but
No.
So basically, I'm going to try and keep it sweet but to the point. My daughter is now coming up to 15 years old. I left her mum when she was 1 year old.
Mm-hmm.
We had a very healthy co-parenting relationship for 11 years. So much so that, I'd meet her new partners, I'd go around there for my daughter's birthdays, Christmases. Despite some of the relationships she had were very toxic, I'd still kind of help her through that. We'd even get on so much so that she phoned me once and asked me if she'd have a new baby with this new husband. So that's how well we got on. Sadly, when my daughter was about 11 and a half, coming up 12, we were in a swimming pool change rooms and my daughter was completely naked and she said to me, "Dad, I don't like this new guy." So it raised a lot of anxiety, alarm bells rang in my head, and I decided to confront mum and partner. What's going on? Why would she say this?
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of jealousy between the new partner and my ex-partner, purely because he didn't like the relationship, the healthy relationship we had, which I found quite strange, and I'd never had that before in the 12 years. And it's worth saying that in the 12 years we had shared custody, 50-50. I'd see her 2-3 times a week, easily, take her to all her clubs, get her involved in her clubs, very much involved.
And was she living? Sorry, was your daughter living local at that point?
Yeah, literally just a mile down the road, which was really handy.
Okay.
She'd come to Spain with me every year since she was born for 3-4 weeks. We'd have brilliant memories, right? So when I confronted them about this comment in the changing rooms, the very next day They called the police on me. They shut the door on me, and they left my daughter's bag outside the front door. So I knocked on the door, and they weren't answering the door. So I kept knocking. I said, "You've left my daughter's bag outside." At this point, my daughter's crying inside for some reason. Don't know why. I was only knocking on the door, and they called the police and tried to get me done for criminal damage on the front door, which was the police just laughed at it and just basically told me to go on my way. And the very next day, I get a letter through the front door saying you're not seeing your daughter anymore. All because I challenged, what's going on? Why doesn't she like your new partner? To cut a long story short, I immediately found a solicitor. I think I used the firm that sold my house or bought a house through just because it's familiar, and I had no idea of this. This was all new to me, never been in a court or had any sort of legal issues in my life. So they started the court proceedings, and it lasted about 14, 15 months, I think, the first court case, and got cancelled a couple of times. It's just what it is. So I just had to have faith in the legal system. That's all I could do. And after the 14 months, I've done about 40 grand cash. And then I got to the point where I haven't got any more money. I need to sell the house to pay for what's coming on. So I did that because I was fighting for my daughter.
Marcus, sorry, at this point, when you're going through this court process, the access to your daughter, was it just completely immediately shut off, or was it a slow tail off?
She cut it off.
Just immediately cut off?
Immediately cut it off. So we went from 3 times a week, holidays, blah, 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 to nothing. Daughter couldn't understand it. She even texted me, and I got this on my phone still to this day, and I took it to court, that she texted me saying, "My mum needs to learn, I need to see my dad." So all this evidence was building up. I had the police report that I did nothing wrong, there was no criminal damage. Anyway, she accused me of all sorts during this process, being a drug addict, alcoholic, and unfortunately I had to be the one to prove my innocence. As soon as someone makes an accusation, you have to then prove your innocence. So the judge said to me, "Will we do a hair strand test?" I went, "Of course I'll do a hair strand test." "Will you do a blood test?" "No problem." So it picks up the last 12 months or more of either alcohol abuse or drug abuse. It came back singing and dancing. There's no issue.
So she completely made this up?
Absolutely.
Just completely made it up, because obviously by doing that, it makes you look like the bad guy. It justifies why she's cut you off from,
Yeah. So, in the past, I'm not saying my life was absolutely perfect. We've all done stuff we're not proud of, but I never, ever once was that, involved my daughter or back in the day when she was 2 and 3, Mum was quite happy to leave her when I'd had a night out and hanging the next day. And do you know what I mean? It's to extort it. But now, as she's getting older, because this new guy's come along, and I do you know what? I need to say that I understand, because I do my job. I understand if she didn't support this new guy, the new husband who he is now, he probably would have done a runner or a bunk, and she'd had another failed relationship, right? So I get the psychology behind why she's doing it.
There's a dynamic going on in the background, isn't there? Yeah.
But unfortunately, my daughter's texting me all this stuff. Don't know why. Anyway, so cut a long story short, went to court, spent a lot of money, won the court case, 50-50 shared custody, 50-50 in the holidays, effectively immediately. And I agreed, actually, not to even drink, or just to, put all these allegations to that they were false. Kafka's report came back glowing. Social services report came back glowing. Judge, she did everything she could to get me out of my daughter's life. She even made my daughter write a fake letter to the court saying she wants to be with Mum, blah, blah, blah. She doesn't feel comfortable with me. The judge ripped it up. He didn't even read it. He said, "You know what? How can you even bring your daughter into this courtroom like that?" And we all knew
had the mum written that letter? Had the mum written that letter, or she got the daughter under duress to write it?
Basically, dictated what to write for my daughter. And as soon as my barrister read it, she said, "That is not your daughter." And we all knew anyway. Just wasn't. She was about 11 and a half. There's no way 11 and a half would know some of these words. So anyway, the judge was brilliant. He ripped it up in front of her and basically come down on her like a ton of bricks.
So at this point,
embarrassing. Like, she actually walked out of court. She wouldn't sign the order. She walked out of court and left.
So at this point, costs aside, up to this point, your experience of the family court sounds like it was a positive one.
Because I never knew anything about it, right? And I won. So when you go away from something, winning something, and it wasn't about winning, it was about just seeing my daughter.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Proving my innocence. Getting all my mind was my daughter. I didn't care about her.
Yeah. And they didn't think, I mean, you got 50-50, which is great, but they didn't think that at this point she's clearly trying to contrive something that's very false, which is very unhealthy for a parent to do. So the court didn't consider about transference of custody to yourself completely.
There was part of me that obviously would have liked that. However, you know, being coming from a family that have broken up myself, I didn't want to pull my daughter away from, because she just had another baby with this guy. And also she got an older daughter. So I didn't want to put her away from her family
very
unit.
Considerate of you,
Come and live with dad, right? And break it up even more. I just didn't want to do it.
No,
and I kind of gave her choice, really. And her mum did a very good job of convincing her. So that was court case one. The barrister said to me, "Look, we can win you whatever you like, but we can't change who your ex is." And then that really kind of helped me kind of process it. Actually, the court can do this, can do that. Yes, I got what I wanted out of it, but so it was the first one was positive. And then from then on for about 6 months, it was okay. You know, I'd see her twice a week again, go to her clubs, we'd go on holiday. You know, all the things we lost for a year, we got back.
Great.
Anyway, so that was. Although I, was gutted about all the money, and it is hard when you work hard and you save up, and you have to sell your house to pay for legal fees. It's not easy to.
There's plenty of us that have spent tens of thousands of pounds in family court, I can assure you.
So that was court case one. Anyway, I thought, this is great. Life's back to normal. And it did affect me, despite what I do for a job, I'm human, and it took its toll mentally, financially, and probably physically. In reality, I was a bit down about it, very angry about it, because it never should have happened, right? So anyway,
it's completely unnecessary, isn't it? Completely unnecessary.
Got my daughter into grammar school, and she was loving it. And so she just left junior school right, first year of senior school. So 6 months pass. We're now in February before COVID hit, the year before COVID. So she was now 12. Dad, we're moving at the weekend. I don't want to go. So this was like, whoa, hang on a minute. Where are you moving to? 250 miles away to Norfolk. I'm like, whoa. That is, it kind of proved to me that mum had become secretive, was not open anymore, was trying to run away, trying to get, I'm not here to diagnose her mum, but when people are of a certain way, use the word narcissistic a lot, people throw it around, but she, in her head, I feel she's got this family unit, but it's not a real family unit. Half brother, half sister, full fifth marriage, whatever it is. You know what I mean? It's a fake unit.
Yeah.
It's not like real blood, you know what I mean? So she would do anything to get away and go and be in her family unit and get rid of us as a family, right?
So even though there's this court order that instructs 50-50 contact, she decides it's a good idea to go 250 miles up the road.
Yeah. So I felt sick. I felt like, oh my God, here we go again. More disruption for my daughter. She now doesn't want to go because her words were, I love my teachers, I love my friends, I love you, I don't want to move. No. So then I put in an application for an emergency hearing, and the judge basically stalled the move because she had to prove the reasons why she was going, all that kind of stuff.
She had to prove that it was in the child's interest, right?
Yeah. So she made the excuse that financially they would be better off going to a cheaper place. I proved against that because I found houses that were exactly the same price as the ones they were going to. Anyway, so during this 6 months from February to July, I had a lot of soul searching going, at the end of the day, if she's going to go or stay with me, I'm then still pulling her away from her family, right? So she's used to her brother, now she's used to her sister, she's used to that family unit. So ultimately, I'm like, well, I'll leave it up to her what she wants to do. Initially, it was very adamant, I don't want to go. I was gutted because she was in great school, she was going, kids that she'd grown up with, all this was going to go in one foul swoop. So during the 6 months, her mum done a very good job of convincing her to go with them. So she's now of the opinion, Dad, I'll give it a try. And I was like, look, okay, but you need to know that if you don't like it, you can come back, right? So yes, it was hard to hear. Of course, you don't want your kid to go. So the judge said to me, look, what do you want? And I said, look, all I want is the same order I've got, 50. Maybe I get 75% of holidays instead of 50 now, because she's going away for longer. So he said, do you not want like full custody? I said, well, then I'm the bad guy. I'll be pulling away from her family. So I'm not going to stop her moving, but I want the 50-50. So she tried to go for petrol. Basically, to cut a long story short, the barrister said to me on the final hearing, look, by this time I've done 70 grand now, right, over 2 years. Don't spend any more money. I wish they'd told me that after spent 20 grand.
Well, I'm pleased you found a lawyer that told you not to spend any more money, because it's
she said to me, look, we can win you whatever you want, right? There's nothing in this land that will stop you seeing her from a legal point of view. We've proved your innocence. We've proved all the lies, all that. But what we can't do is change who your ex is. So please don't keep, spending the money. So again, the judge awarded me the court order, 50-50 shared, parental responsibility still on, because she's on the birth. I'm on the birth certificate, and 75% of the holidays. She then got the right ump and said, I want petrol money if I'm going to. He made her basically every other Friday. The deal was she had to drive to me on a Friday, drop my daughter, and then pick her up on the Sunday.
Yeah.
The judge saw it. Well, you're choosing to move. You cannot expect him to go up.
Yeah, I mean, talk about wanting your cake and eat it.
Yeah. She then tried to argue her solicitor was absolutely awful. Right, he was a joke. All he tried to do the whole court case was demean me, put me down, saying bad things about me. It was just like embarrassing.
He's representing her, isn't he?
He's like this, he's like that.
He's an extension of her, isn't he? Basically, yeah.
So the judge basically made both of them look a bit silly. And
well, I'm pleased to hear that you had a judge that saw sense. I mean, I'm really quite pleasantly surprised by that. That's great. Oh, I seem to have lost your signal again.
Sorry.
Are you back on? You're back on. Yeah, sorry, Marcus, carry on.
Oh yeah, so yeah, go on. You were saying about please the judge.
Yeah,
Yeah, do you
no,
know
pleased
what?
to hear you got a judge that seemed to, see a very reasonable, balanced view on things, which is good to
You
hear.
know, it was, but all these things like were going through my head about family court. Like, why should I? If I said to you, Nick, like you're drinking too much, you'd have to then go and spend 400 quid getting a test to say you don't drink too much. Like
Yeah,
all
yeah,
this
yeah.
stuff was going well. And the judge, he said,
You
well,
are
okay.
guilty until proven innocent in the family court, basically.
He actually said to her, look, if anything, Marcus should be seen as admirable. He wants to be in his daughter's life. He's willing to do all this stuff that you're requesting, despite it being lies, to prove that he's innocent, which I did, right? But also, I've got a feeling you shouldn't have to do that just because someone says that. Where's your evidence? She had no evidence at all.
But Marcus, we're hearing this all the time. We're hearing this all the time because one party has said something.
Yeah.
Support services, whoever that is, social services, charities, the police, they take it as fact.
Yeah.
And then the other person's stuffed.
Yeah. So, a lot of this as well was not just for me. My daughter's used to seeing her grandparents, every week, who my dad's nearly 90, my mum's late 70s. I was actually thinking more about them than myself in a lot of ways. She's got cousins in another country. She had all these opportunities in life that was being taken away from her. So mentally, after the 2 years, yes, I won this quarter again, which was great. But mentally, I was done in. Financially, I was done in.
Yeah.
I was just exhausted with it all, and I had almost like no more fight in me. If that, not from my daughter, but
I understand. I understand. Yeah.
So to finish off the court case, I got this order. Week one turns up. Week one, comes along, and she doesn't turn up. Doesn't come.
Surprise.
Oh my God, this is like that moment. I phoned my solicitor and said, "What do I do?" They couldn't believe it, and they said, "Well, look, unfortunately, you're not going to like this. You're the one that's going to have to take her to court for breaking the order." So I was like, absolutely. Then, from that literally split second, I was angry at the whole court system because.
Well, you spent all that money.
Why should I now spend another 10 grand going back to court? Yes, you can represent yourself, but also that's scary for a lot of people. I don't know the law. I don't know how to, speak to judges or, I just left it in someone else's hands. So, we've all got skills for one way. Some people are good at that, representing themselves. Or I just thought, hang on a minute, you're all just after money. Yeah. Like solicitors were like, well, it's going to cost you another 1,500 quid on account to go and, to go and.
So is the only way to enforce that court order is for you to go back to court?
Yeah.
Exactly. Unlike say like a restraining order where I think you sort of indicated that you could phone the police and it'd be enforceable.
Yeah.
A court order doesn't work. A family court order doesn't work like that.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
If in case me and you fell out, you started harassing me, I'll get an injunction out on you, right? If you then knock on my door, I
get arrested.
They come in, right? For me, it should be no different. I've won this court order from the court door saying this is what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Why can I not pick up the phone and go, she's broken me. Come, go and do something. Instead, I'm the one that has to go back to court and enforce this order. The trouble is, it made me lose faith in solicitors. It made me lose faith in
the justice system,
family court.
Yeah.
All of that stuff. And I just held on to this barrister saying, don't spend any more money. I felt like my whole world crashed because I fought tooth and nail, right? And like I said to you, as a family, it was like, well, you're going to make yourself bankrupt if you keep going and doing all this stuff. What does it actually mean? I think you said it earlier, it doesn't actually mean anything, this bit of paper. And I was depressed for a while. I was very angry for a while at the system and everyone. It affected my mental health and all that kind of stuff. And I decided, you know what? I'll always be there for my daughter. If something happened tonight, I'll be there in a flash. Don't care if the ex call the police, whatever. From that point of view, I'll always be there. What I can't keep doing is fighting against her mum. She knows we FaceTime, we text. She's now at the point where I've not seen her in August. It'll be 3 years in August. She doesn't understand it. It's destroyed our faith in the court system. Not only mine, but my dad's faith in the court system, my family's faith in the court system. It's destroyed their relationship. She hasn't seen her grandparents for 3 years.
I just want to clarify. It's 3 years since you've had contact with your daughter.
Physical contact, yeah.
Physical contact.
We text.
Yeah.
And she understands that I love her. She understands that, I'll do anything for her. She doesn't really understand the process or what's gone on. I've not once during all this time bad mouthed her mum. All I've said is the last time we spoke was because I invited her to come on holiday this year, which she's always done since birth. Me and her, me and my mum, me and my family, me and my sisters. And she's now scared, saying I don't feel comfortable. And one, it's devastating to hear. Two, I said, well, your mum's done, a good job of scaring you. I don't know why. Because I do, as a therapist, I think it's important to be very honest and say, look, it's not bad mouthing her mum because I haven't said one bad thing about her mum. We could all go to town on the ex, right? But I just said, I really don't understand what mum's been saying to you to make you so scared of us. What have we done apart from love you, give you what you want, give you opportunities in life? And she said, I don't know that. It's just, I don't know how to answer that. So it's very obvious what mum's and this new fella's been doing to me.
Well, I mean, this is what people, you see, some people, and I'll just use that as a general term, might sort of say, well, your daughter's saying she's scared of you, she doesn't want to see you, but actually what I know, because I've been in an abusive relationship with a controlling person, and controlling people make you fear doing things. So even as a grown adult, I stopped seeing people that I loved, like my parents and my friends, because I feared how that might upset my partner.
Yeah.
So for a child, if an adult, a grown adult, an assertive grown adult can feel that, then for a child who is aged 10 or whatever it is, 9, you're not going to tell me that, of course they're frightened of upset. And the other thing is children are fiercely loyal.
Yeah.
So your daughter has loyalties to you as a dad, but has loyalties to mum too, and feels that strongly. So,
and I think it's only because I do what I do for a living that I'm allowed, I can process this stuff. Because when I was 9 and my mum and dad broke up, all I wanted was my mum. It's not like I didn't love my dad. I was scared mum was going to leave. Because dad left, my 2 sisters left home. I was left with my mum, and I didn't want that to happen. So it's like, I understand where my daughter's coming from, right?
Yes.
And I'm fortunate to be in that position.
Yes.
So going back to just quickly on the court case, when I'd won, whatever you call it, I don't like even to call it winning, got what was due, what was right.
A successful outcome, yeah.
Successful outcome. I was left feeling so angry and bitter and like, what's it worth? Because she's broken it, and it means nothing. It's literally just a bit of paper. So over the 2 years that I decided to back off from the court thing, I really had to process what actually is this bit of paper worth now. And the only thing I can really is my saving grace is because I always try and look for positive no matter what the circumstance. And I think I said to you before that the only thing, and I hope other parents will hold on to this, that if you do go to court and you feel that it's not beneficial or, you know, it's worth nothing, I can now hold on to the fact that my daughter, when she's 16, 18, when I give her the folder, because I will do it, I'll give her the folder to read all about the lies, all that crap, and the outcome, that she will not have to believe mum or believe dad. She can see this in black and white from social services, from Kafka's, from a court of law, that this is your dad, right? And not have to believe one or the other. That's the only thing, and it's taken me a while to get there, that I can say that was worth 60 grand, right? And that does give me some comfort, because as a child, and I know you wanted me to mention that most of my private clientele that I see are under 30 and mummy issues or daddy issues. Dad hasn't been around, mum hasn't been around. And it's heartbreaking because you're sitting there hearing almost like your story about, parent. And it's frustrating because you know yourself, like there's parents out there that don't particularly want to see their children and don't fight for their children.
Yeah.
And what really, really frustrates me is, sorry to ramble on, Nick, but
no, you're not rambling. It's good stuff.
There's a few important things I need, and I'm sure parents can relate. That my dad, who's late 80s, will always try and keep the peace. And once a year, he'll send my ex a Christmas card, right? Much to my hate.
Yeah.
And text him this December because he got a new. And there was a message from her going, and I've saved it because if I do go back to court, which I'm thinking of doing, we'll get onto that, is our lives are better now without Marcus, right? You are more than welcome to come over at any time. I mean, for God's sake, he's nearly 90. How's he going to get there, right? But Marcus is not welcome anywhere near, right? Secondly, the next text was, we're doing okay. So-and-so is doing really well. I'm not going to mention my daughter's name, but so-and-so is doing well, even though her father's rejected her. Oh my God, Nick. I was boiling. My blood instantly got boiled. But also it's a good thing because I've got that as evidence now.
Sorry, lost your connection again, Marcus. Sorry.
When I thought yes. I was like, how can they have the audacity to say I rejected my child when I fought for her for 2 and a bit years?
Okay, so mum's feeding daughter all sorts of crap, basically, based on what your ex has presented at court about you, which is proven as false, based on text messages you've seen, and obviously how your daughter now behaves towards you in comparison to the happy, healthy father-daughter relationship you've always enjoyed up to a certain point.
Absolutely.
So it's quite clear. So what do you tell me about what you think about, and again, I'll say people, quote unquote, but when I say people, I include in that official organizations, public bodies, charities, who put out formal statements about parental alienation is a concept, a theory that can't be proven, or there's no evidence that it exists, or is used by fathers as a weapon against mothers to deflect off any accusations. But tell me about your feelings about people who say that.
Sorry, Nick. What was the specific question?
So there are people People who might claim to be researchers, or
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody yesterday who's had dealings with the NSPCC, child charity, and they have put this in writing. There are people that suggest that parental alienation doesn't exist, isn't a thing.
I'm with you. Okay.
Or if it is a thing, it's made up by fathers to accuse mothers to try and deflect accusations of abuse and stuff like that. So
I'm of the opinion that this should not be a gender thing, right? Because I'm sure the male cases are much higher than women's, but it does still happen.
There are plenty of mothers that have been alienated from their children.
Exactly.
Yes, yes.
So what I think we really need to get away from is this gender thing and the battle between exes, right? That is primarily what's going.
Sorry, we just dropped you again there, Marcus. Sorry.
We lost connection again.
Just briefly, yeah. Sorry.
So my belief is we lose the gender.
Yeah.
Right. We focus on what is important for the child. The court decides that, right? That's evident in my case and thousands of other cases. So I do think we need to get away from that. As a parental alienation as a concept, absolutely, it's real. I mean. We're talking as human beings now, both parents. How can you not see this as parental alienation? Like, it stands out like a sore thumb. And when you go people like researching what? Just look at the cases. It's not hard to understand what.
It does make you wonder who they're talking to, doesn't it?
It's frightening. It's frightening. And what people don't realise is how hard it is as a parent and how destructive it is for the child. Because like I said before, I see so many clients that are all suffering because of their parents' battles. And not to have this as it should be a case of, I should be able to go to court tomorrow, the High Court maybe, and go, I spent this much money on this order, she hasn't adhered to it. One, I want to sue her for financial loss and mental torture, and she needs some sort of punishment, because that's the problem. If you, like we said earlier, going back to the stalking thing, or the whatever we called it, what was the order called?
Restraining order.
There will be a punishment for that, right? You might get community service, you might get a prison sentence, whatever it might be. There's no deterrent for people to do this.
Well, there's no deterrent for people to make false accusations. So you face, the first thing is it's a form of perjury, isn't it? To under oath to make false accusations is a crime, but it never really gets dealt with. And then you've got this court order, which is bound by law. And I think what's really interesting is I speak to lots of people who've had really bad experiences in the family court, really bad experiences, and spent tens and tens of thousands of pounds and didn't get the outcome. What's fascinating with yourself is you spent tens of thousands of pounds, actually had a pretty positive experience and got a good outcome, but still don't have anything to show for it. So whether you get a good outcome or a bad outcome, it's just not a great place to be, is it?
I think in reality, let's be brutally honest, it's a money-making machine. There's no real point to it. And I really feel for people, one, that do it on their own. I really admire that. I mean, personally, I had to go down the solicitor route because, one, I didn't know anything about court, and when you've got a full life and working, and it's just so difficult to get your head around all this.
It's terrifying anyway.
Legal stuff.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying. Exactly. You need somebody to advocate for you.
So I just think it's a money-making scam. It's completely not recognised parental alienation. I hate that word.
No. Oh, parental separation, whatever you want to call it.
It's not recognised. In America, it's recognised, and you can sue the person for for alienating.
Yes, yeah.
What I don't understand is how they cannot blatantly see that that is what's going on. Not just with my case, hundreds and thousands of other cases.
Yeah, yeah.
It's frightening. It's frightening.
It's interesting itself.
I'm dealing with the aftermath. I'm dealing with the aftermath.
Yes.
These kids growing up now. Daddy's never been around. Well, Daddy's never been around because Mum did this or Dad did this, you know, and he couldn't take anymore. Suicide rates have gone up tenfold because of this stuff.
I mean, that's what I wanted to quickly ask you about, Marcus. I mean, what's great with speaking to someone like yourself is you've got that personal experience, but it sounds like you've got professional experience of this as well. So without compromising the sort of, client, confidentiality and that, are you able to give us a flavour of kind of any clients that you've worked with that have been alienated from the parents? And
like I said, I'd say out of 10 clients, private clients at the moment, they're all under 30, as I said, some under 25. And my daughter could be one of these girls. That's my frustration as a flipping therapist, right? She could now be in therapy because she hasn't seen Dad. She could turn around to the therapist and said, Dad's been in and out of my life. Now, that's what I hear a lot. Dad has been there and he's not been there. He comes and goes. We've got to look at the reason why that is, because I've got the same experience. Not because I'm just one of these people that don't really have an interest in my child. Mine is because of legal reasons. And that's why. So there could be genuine reasons why a parent is not in that child's life. So they're the type of clients that I'm seeing is either mummy issues or daddy issues. Mum's not been there or dad's not been there. We've been through the court system. I've been, pushed from pillar to post. All I want, and they do say it, and it's really sad to hear, all I want is my dad in my life or my mum in my life. And
they actually say that to you.
That's what they'd say. I'd love to have had Dad in my life. Or then it turns to hate. Then it turns to I never want to see him again. I never want to see her again because it could be both mum or dad. And that's very sad because it might not be the parent's fault. It might be that the new partner has had such an influence on the mother or the father, and turn these kids against their own families. And it leads to, all sorts of problems, Nick. Body dysmorphia, self-hate, drinking too much. The consequences, I don't think parents realise what can happen to their children long term when they getting mature adults. And that does petrify me because genuinely I've done everything I can, but it still could be seen in my daughter's eyes that I haven't. Does that make sense? Like, well, why don't you just come and pick me up? Because I didn't come and pick you up because I didn't want your mum to phone the police and cause a big argument in front of everyone, because that's what she likes to do.
Yeah, yeah.
And the only way I've dealt with mum now is when someone's that toxic, you will never win. And I'm saying this with my therapist head on, right? You'll never beat someone that's narcissistic tendencies. The only way to beat them is to stop all contact with them. And that's what I've done the last 3 years. She's only allowed to email through my solicitor or email me, but we've had no contact in 3 years. And you know what? It's done me a favour because my focus is now 100% on my daughter. I'm trying to keep that door open.
Yeah.
And I don't have that battle with someone that's never going to admit their wrongs or never going to think they're wrong. To this day, she's saying that I've rejected her. I've seen the message in black and white. So now I'm thinking, do I go back to court and enforce this order after a couple of 3 years? I could get a Mackenzie friend maybe to help me. But ultimately, what's it going to do? She's now scared of me. It's like it shouldn't be happening. And I think parents, my biggest point really is parents really need to dig deep and detach themselves from this tit for tat, like toxic relationships. We've had it recently in the whole Johnny Depp and Amber Heard thing, haven't we? People airing their dirty laundry. Just toxic.
But just like you say, that the narcissist can't seem to put the child at the centre and try and.
I'd love to get involved with campaigning that alienation should be an illegal act. This is not, in my eyes, hard to prove at all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is a form of coercive control.
It's coercive control. It's mental abuse. It's just not right at all. It's frightening how many families are going through this. I mean, there's Facebook groups with 50, 60,000 people in it. You know, that those figures, when you're talking that, and that's just one group. You know, when you're talking these kind of figures, I mean, you're doing this podcast. This stuff shouldn't even be happening. But ultimately, we have to look at ourselves and go, what's our part in it? Sadly, you won't convince, certain types of toxic people that they're in the wrong, and they will just completely zap you of all what you've got.
Yeah.
Ultimately, Nick, it's just going to affect the children.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's those that, I mean, I can see that you've clearly suffered yourself, but it's obviously the
and I'm ready. I'm kind of ready again. I've built myself up to think. There's times I still get frustrated and angry. I'm human, and I know I miss my child.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I had to rebuild almost to make myself stronger. To have this maybe third and final fight. I don't know what I'm going to do, but if there's any sort of punishment they can give, I don't know what the answer. I really don't know the answer, but something needs to be done on a higher level in the court system to make this almost like a criminal offence. Yeah.
No, agreed. I mean, look, you
get a call with it, you should be able to phone the police. Otherwise, what is the point of it? I'd love to speak to a judge and go, right, this thank you for giving me that order, but what does it actually mean? Like, who's going to enforce it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think maybe the police don't want to get involved in family stuff because it is quite a sensitive thing. I don't know why more is not being done about it.
Well, I mean, look,
it's a form of abuse.
Yeah, I mean, what you've told us will be potentially triggering for some listeners, but at the same time, don't underestimate by coming and talking to us. It's it's another voice out there, and I'm sure there'll be people that listen to this. They'll be associating with your experience. It will be validating. It will provide some comfort that they're not alone.
Yeah.
So I think I really appreciate you coming to speak to me and telling this story. And as I said,
it's just nice to have a voice, really.
I think what's really interesting is, to hear your story on a personal level, which is great, but the professional contact that you've had and experience as well kind of provides that additional sort of validation that it goes on and it destroys people, it destroys lives. I just get frustrated about those that deny its existence. It's utterly bizarre, isn't it, really? But
it's completely wrong. They're denying it because they're in denial.
Yeah.
They don't want to admit it. They might be doing it themselves.
Well, there's some sort of projection going on or mirroring or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No. Well, look, I tell you what. I think if it's okay, we'll look to draw it to a close then. Was there anything else you wanted to say, or any other points you wanted to make, Marcus, before we do close?
I'd advise anyone to just get it off your chest, talk to a mate, go and get, therapy, go and get whatever it might be, some sort of outlet to help you deal with these challenges, because it can eat you alive. It's not pleasant to go through alone.
No. Well, look, we're definitely going to stay in touch.
Yes.
For those that want to connect with you on Twitter, I think I've got your Twitter handle here. It's @raw. That's raw, RAW organisation. So at Raw Organisation, if anybody wants to connect.
Yeah, anyone can hit me up and talk about what they're going through. I'm happy to.
Yeah, we'll stay in touch. We'll
Yes.
stay in touch, and I'd perhaps we can do some sort of follow up in time and let us know how you're getting on. If there's been any development, that'd be lovely. I need to doff my cap towards Clive if Clive's listening, because I know that Clive connected to us. So
yes, thank you, Clive.
Shout out to Clive. So that's great. But look, really appreciate your time, Marcus. As I think it's going to be really good for people to watch and listen to. And I wish you all the very best, both with your work and with hopefully some form of future contact with your daughter. That'd be great.
Thanks very much, Nick.
All right. All the best. Thank you for listening.